Nigga, your mask get hit with the switch. I've been on flex time, I can't miss. Get a cream soda and mix it with the trust. I've been outside, I ain't worried about niggas. Close to the scene, let me see how you live. Whipping that new G, truck this hit. Bad bitch, talking about this and this. Hit two, I got a brand new lid.
We live in a society. What do you do when people don't understand you, let alone the work that you do? In cinema history, there is a history of people letting you know that you suck at what you do. From journalists to YouTubers to random people on the internet, someone always has something to say. The Cannes Film Festival is widely seen as the apex of the film industry. It showcases new films from the best of the best. Works are screened and filmmakers and critics alike get the chance to not only see the films, but also give their opinions on the films, sometimes in real time.
Votre action sur le film. C'est scandaleux! C'est lamentable de faire des choses pareilles. Voir une femme se faire violer pendant 20 minutes, se fait de cette manière-là.
Many films have been booed and walked out of either because they dislike the film or, I mean, really that's it. Like they walk out because they just do not like the movie. However, some of these notorious boos and walkouts were for films that actually won the highest honor at the festival. The Palme d'Or is the highly coveted award given to the director of the best feature film at the festival as decided upon by a festival jury composed of legendary filmmakers. But how is this possible? How can a film that's been completely shit on be seen as the best film at the festival? Who is in the audience? Why are they booing? Can something seen as bad be good? Who decides the worth of the art? How are you even supposed to consume a film? LATSUM is the directorial debut of Josiah Pettis. It's an experimental short film made up of footage from video games, bull riding compilations, wrestling, YouTube, porn, and personal home footage from the director. All of this is set to music with edits that push the footage to its technical limit with flashing lights and inverted colors, making for surreal and abstract images. So, what do we make of this? Isn't this just kind of like a random assortment of images and music? Are these edits fake deep, posing as art? What differentiates this from like a breakcore video on Instagram? Sigma funk edit? What do we even do emotionally and intellectually with a film like LATSUM? How do you analyze and critique a film? So before we get into like analyzing the film or whatever, we have to ask ourselves a pretty important question. What even is film criticism? Film criticism is an analysis of film and the medium itself. Film criticism can be broken down generally into two categories: academic and journalistic. Academic film criticism typically comes from film scholars who publish works on film theory and how movies shape it. They look at the politics, form, and history of cinema when they discuss films. General journalistic film criticism is what you find in day-to-day print and digital media. Journalistic film criticism usually takes on the form of a review, a summary of the film accompanied by someone's opinion or interpretation. Sometimes they'll assign a rating system to determine whether a film is good or not, or if it's even worth seeing. I'd say this is what people are most familiar when they think of film criticism. Rotten Tomatoes, Letterboxd, IMDb, unless we forget the devil himself, YouTube. Before the age of Among Us, Before the age of Among Us raps and the Harlem Shake. Oh my God, bro. If you wanted to know if a movie was worth spending your minimum wage on, you typically had to read about it. Critics would write about films in newspapers, and from this, people would decide whether or not it was worth seeing. As technology evolved and became more accessible, people had new ways of consuming film criticism. When you're young, you can usually tell whether you like the movie or not, but on the off chance that you watch something like a little bit too complex for you, you hit the ending explained in YouTube. With the boom of YouTube as a pastime for like a lot of people, countless channels popped up with the premise of reviewing a movie, giving you a deep dive, and telling you whether or not it was worth it to go see. And it wasn't long before this turned into the slot fist of creating content. Reviews became catchy instead of reflective, dunks instead of understanding. And I want to say, with my script in hand, this is like low-key capitalism's fault, but like that's like a whole other video. But like that's That's like kind of it. All in all, the YouTube review is meant to be picked up and thrown away. People don't want to wait to read or anything. They want an answer and they want the answer now. No one's gonna sit through 20, 30 minutes of like a video or something to know what you think about a movie. It's just consume, consume, consume. To keep up in this fast-paced consumer environment, people adapt by having reactionary positions on movies, both critics and audiences alike. Because film reviews and analysis get weaker and weaker over time, you kind of begin to lose the plot on how to even watch a movie. An art form that's supposed to express the human condition is reduced down to a checklist. Is it hype? Does it have aura? Can this be a meme? How many stars? How long is it? Can I just watch it on TikTok? And my honest response to the average person watching movies is, oh, but Oscar, how can you say you don't interpret it? Aren't you interpreting right now?
What even is the difference between analysis and interpretation? You critique criticism, but yet you're critiquing right now.
Can you just let people enjoy things? It's not that deep, bro. Put the fries in the bag, bro. Hey, man, I think...
Interpretation is assigning meaning, dumbass. Analysis is understanding relationships and patterns, you fucking idiot. In 1966, writer and critic Susan Sontag published her influential essay Against Interpretation, in which she argues against contemporary forms of criticism and instead advocates for attention to form over perceived meaning. What that mean? In the essay, Sontag argues that when you interpret a work of art, you're doing yourself and the art a disservice. Trying to interpret a work or find its hidden meaning distracts you from the actual work of art that's in front of you. Instead of seeing the film for what it is, you essentially just throw it away and just make shit up about it. When you try really hard to interpret something, you're essentially just covering your eyes and going la 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 la, it's about trauma and gayness. Like think cartoon theories. No, Ed, Edd n Eddy is not about kids in purgatory. It's a fucking cartoon. And you're just too pussy to accept how weird it is. Sontag states, it is always the case that interpretation of this type indicates a dissatisfaction, conscious or unconscious, with a work, a wish to replace it by something else. Instead of looking at the film as a whole, as it is, you split it up, thereby willfully destroying it. Sontag encourages us to abandon the reliance on assigning meaning to texts that we can't or refuse to understand by instead paying attention to the form of the art. She writes that we need to be more descriptive instead of prescriptive, meaning she wants us to observe rather than interpret. What do you see on screen? How did they achieve that? How does the visual style and the way that they did it contribute to the film? She wants us to use our senses when analyzing art. If anything, she was ahead of her time in understanding that mass media slop makes us dumber. Interpretation takes the sensory experience of the work of art for granted and proceeds from there. This cannot be taken for granted now. Think of the sheer multiplication of works of art available to every one of us, superated to the conflicting tastes and odors and sights of the urban environment that bombard our senses. Ours is a culture based on excess, on overproduction. The result is a steady loss of sharpness in our sensory experience. Through the use of using our senses and observing a film, not only can we appreciate it more, but we can understand it much better than we would if we speculated on made-up meanings. Now, does this mean it's the only way to watch a film? No. Does this mean you can't try to interpret a film's meaning? No. Honestly, if you really wanted to, you can just ignore everything that I just said. You can just ignore Susan Sontag altogether. But if you really want to understand art, you really want to be a better artist and audience for yourself, then I would encourage you to be open-minded about film criticism outside of YouTube, TikTok, just outside of social media, really. There's countless artists and filmmakers who have really wonderful works about art and film and how to analyze it. Robert Bresson, Walter Murch, Paul Schrader, Andrei Tarkovsky, the list goes on and on. Art shouldn't just be a consumable that you throw away once the credits roll. It's something that should speak to our hearts, it can speak to our brain, it can really speak to both at the same time. For some, the heart matters more. For others, the brain matters more. Whatever part of your body art touches you, just make sure that you are open and allow yourself to be touched. Okay, now that we know ball, let's take a hard look at LATSUM. Okay, first off, I want to say that I really commend the director in their ambition for wanting to make something experimental. Not too many people start off their artistic journey going in this direction because it's really, really easy to be misunderstood and written off. Especially when peers and formal schooling kind of primes you more for traditional storytelling and narrative fiction. However, This begs the question, can you even critique and analyze something that can be as challenging as experimental film? Of course you can. Any genre or form of film can and should be critiqued. And I really like that the young director chose to do this, because there can be a lot that he can learn from this experience. And I like that this young director chose to do an experimental project, because there can be a good deal to learn about this approach and any approach that he chooses to do in the future. Right away, the film opens on some credits that contain trigger warnings, the director's inspirations and special thanks, and a card that really stood out to me. That same kind of title card bookends the film. I'm gonna be really honest. I don't think anybody should be coy about their art or how they choose to express themselves. You should feel proud and you should own every second of your project, because then it kind of like devolves into this like,
I hope you like this piece of shit. Fuck, I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
it kind of comes off as like, woe me, right? It's like when you see someone being like, man, like, I mean, I don't know where this is going. Just don't do that shit. I don't think the director should have any kind of shame about their work. The work will always speak for itself and speak for you. And whether or not people like it or they engage with it in good faith, it's completely out of your control. And all you can ever do is just let the work speak for you. Like, why apologize for the existence of your expression? As for the special thanks, I think its impact increases tenfold when you let it come just at the end of the film. You let the film play out and then you just have it at the end after you've already kind of made your artistic statement. I think it's just like a lot more meaningful, because you made your statement and these are the people that you have to thank at the very end. Now, on to the actual film itself. There's a pretty clear narrative throughout the entire film. And if you don't get it, then I'm sorry, man. You gotta go back to the film criticism gulag, because like, what the fuck? At first glance though, it can be really easy to write off sequences as random, pointless, confusing, or arbitrary. And honestly, I really have to give props to the director for avoiding these kinds of critiques. There's a quote by Martin Scorsese, quoted by Bong Joon-ho, and it's now quoted by me.
When I was young and studying cinema, there was a saying that I carved deep into my heart, which is the most personal is the most creative.
The director chooses media that's relevant and meaningful to him, and even mixes in some home footage of himself and his siblings. Now, if it weren't something personal or meaningful to the director, okay, then this would be a two-pack of ass. If it was random stuff that the director thought was kind of cool looking or whatever, then it would definitely be obvious to the audience and then fall victim to the allegations of random, pointless, and arbitrary. And then at that point, it wouldn't be any different from like a pseudo-artistic, fake deep Instagram reel. The personal connection to the media is what gives the film its soul. I will say that the director chooses some really great stuff to feature in the film. Melee clips, weather reports, the fucking bull riding compilations. That shit is like the OG live leak. It's like pretty funny to think of like Mexicans like spending money for VHS tapes of people fucking dying. The director also employs the use of memes, softcore porn, gaming clips, and movies. And I think this is where my biggest piece of feedback comes into play. While I think it's great that the director chose an experimental form to express emotion and story, I would challenge the director to have a more solid narrative foundation. But wait, if it's experimental, it doesn't even matter. It's experimental. We don't need a cohesive narrative. It's experimental. You know what's experimental? This. Because the director is just really young and new to everything, they kind of don't know anything about anything, which is not a bad thing. In LATSUM, the director is trying to push a boundary in a medium that he doesn't fully understand yet. The challenge of incorporating a stronger narrative throughout will allow the director to grow and learn. If he were to just stay where he's at right now, then it'd be really easy to shield himself from constructive criticism because the work is experimental. That's the point. It's like a kid trying to rap but doesn't know anything about rap and no one tells him anything about rap. And so he just kind of thinks where he's at is like, okay.
At least I need you in my mind. Please, time to go mining mines. I said, you go mine. Please, I still go mining mines. Yeah. Ooh. Please don't throw your pick away. Please don't throw your pick away. Please don't throw your pick away.
Now, how can you go about inserting a stronger narrative thread in something that inherently wants to be experimental. For one, I think while the sequences themselves are good, the time they spend on screen could be better spent fleshing out the story that's present. I would honestly love to see more footage shot by the director, and for the director to find more creative ways to link that footage to what we see on screen already. Could you intercut between footages and sequences? What if you have a voiceover during the match footage? Could you have footage of actors over gameplay clips? Could you shoot some scenes that kind of follow the thematic core of the film? What if you were to edit footage the same way you've been editing the media? The great thing about narrative fiction is that it's fiction. Like, you can just make shit up and you can really get creative with it. Shoot on your 4K camera, shoot on your iPhone, shoot on your webcam, improvise a scene, improvise the voiceover. The director has already shown prowess in editing, and I think having more material to work with shouldn't be a problem for him. And if anything, I think having more material to work with would make the film stronger. And speaking of editing, I think the director is really creative in the way they mix and match footage. Aside from the destructiveness of the color grading, I like how the director creates double exposures and creates collages on screen. I think the use of music is really great and does a good job of complementing the visual and adds to the overall tone and mood of the film. This, combined with the content itself, creates some really impactful and interesting sequences. Of the sequences that really stood out to me were definitely the last two, starting with the striptease. The director makes great use of color, double exposures, and really transforming the image to evoke the uncomfortable perversion of the content. It's really alluring and very introspective, but where the director really shines is in the last sequence of the film. For the final sequence, the director creates a collage on screen with a home movie in the middle. It's an old iPad recording of the director playing with his brother with different media surrounding it. Wrestling, porn, gaming, art, and memories. This Life of Pablo-esque collage is really the heart of the film for me. The different media juxtaposed against each other expresses the many facets of the self. This film, through its use of editing and media, is ultimately an exploration of the self, and not just the director specifically. We all carry with us a soul with many faces and selves. The director creates this gallery of moving images and sound to express that reflection. It's bold, it's daring, it's vulnerable, and it's a great reminder of the many ways that filmmaking taps into the heart and the brain. I commend the director for their artistic ambition and their execution of their first short film. I look forward to the trajectory of the filmmaker as he learns and grows and really refines the voice that he presents in LATSUM. Props to Josiah, props to LATSUM, props to Knowing Ball, baby babas. If I do like a